It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our daily gun show. Come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern, and we talk about guns for an hour. So it is November 2nd. That makes it every second matters. First day for this show in November. And let's see if anybody shows up. So we go live every weeknight. We've been doing this show for 1,000-something episodes. And the format's changed a bit over the years. So right now it's an open discussion, and we throw out the link there. And people are encouraged to join in, be part of the chat, either in the text chat out there or jumping in and being part of it. Barbecue jumped in. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for dropping the link.
You bet. So we'll see if anybody else shows up tonight. But you got any topics to talk about or anything to chat about?
Did you see that the Second Amendment Foundation is apparently going to start a daily chat talk show type thing on YouTube?
I saw daily something. What was it called? Like the daily something, and then I've only seen one so far. I didn't watch it, but I only seen one show up in the feed or whatever. So is that the goal?
From with the way they made it sound today, today was the very first one, I guess. I watched it. They were talking with a guy, I think his name was Ed from Bama Carry. It was pretty neat. I remember you were talking about, a bunch of old guys. You're always harping, hey, use this platform, and I don't know if it's that they got into it because of the GRPC this year having to be virtual, and they started rolling with it. But apparently, their goal is to do a chat like that every day.
So how long was it?
I think it was about a half hour.
Not bad. And then who was hosting it?
Was
it like a panel or was it a person?
It was just one person. I cannot think who it was for the life of me. If you said his name, I'd be like, yeah, that guy. But right now it's debating.
But that's the format. They got a host, and then they're gonna have somebody on each day or something.
It wasn't really well explained. It was basically, hey, welcome to whatever talk, whatever they're calling it. I'm so and so with Gun Talk Radio or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but he said, this is being hosted by the Second Amendment Foundation, and this is going to be a chat we have every day, et cetera, et cetera. And that was pretty much it. So, like I said, it wasn't real precise on what they're doing or where they're going with it. It's just that they're going to be doing it every day.
Oh, here we go. So, it was Paul Lathrop hosting it, and
yes, thank you.
The Daily Bullet, they're calling it. Yeah. So whoever Bama Carey is, that was their first guest, I guess, and then 17 minutes long. Was it live or was it recorded?
I think it was recorded. I didn't catch it live, so I can't say for sure. But I know it had popped up in my notifications, and I just clicked on it. And I was like, "Oh, what's this?" So I don't know if I just caught it late, or if they're just doing it recorded and putting it out afterwards. I do know, I don't remember them ever going to any comments or anything. So if they are doing it live, I don't believe they're acknowledging anybody out in the comments.
Oh, okay. Well, that would be a good indicator. Yeah. Let's see. So then, did you mention it, or did I see it someplace else that what happened here? Did you get kicked, or I kick you out?
No, I hit the wrong button. I went to mute back up while you were talking, and I hit the back button.
So the 2A rally's been posting. Sorry, I guess I'm tired. The 2A rally's been posting the individual things, and I'm just noticing that they mentioned it, I think, on Instagram or something. I seen a couple of them earlier today, and then I seen that post on Instagram. But now that I'm looking at my YouTube feed, it looks like I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like they got a bunch that they dropped. So yeah, this is finally some of the folks that I don't know have been ignoring the tubes and the live stuff have started using it, but we got to watch them use it, clunkily, drop in a whole bunch of videos as opposed to clicking the schedule button and then having them drop once a day or once a week, or something like that. But the Second Amendment one, I guess we'll find out what's going to happen with that one. How was the conversation for 17 minutes? Was it an introduction to whatever Bama Carey is, or is it just a person that had on to talk about some third thing?
They talked about how Bama Carey got started. Apparently, it was a handful of guys that got together. This is paraphrasing what the gentleman from Bama Carey was saying, but a handful of guys got together, said, why in the world are we having to go and get a permit to exercise our rights, et cetera, et cetera. Apparently, Alabama used to be a what the heck do you call it? Not shall issue state, but may issue. And they were having instances where sheriffs were retaliating against people by not issuing carry permits because of one political reason or another. So they pushed to get the state made into a shall issue state, which apparently they were successful. Now, from what I understand, they're pushing for constitutional carry.
Right.
Overall, I like the conversation. There's one thing that kind of annoyed me though, and I don't know if Paul was just playing good host or what, but he had brought up apparently it's illegal to carry a firearm in your vehicle in Alabama, which when I heard that, I was kind of like, what? Because it's kind of the way it was worded. And the guy goes on to say, yeah, unless you have a concealed carry permit, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, that's the same here in PA, Ohio, and many other states. And I was like, is he just playing dumb? Or did he really not know that and doesn't realize that about a lot of other states? Because I wish when that got brought up, it would could have been brought up as, hey, that's something that happens in a lot of states, and it's something we need to change across the board, not just in Alabama.
Yeah, well, I don't know which one you're talking about, but yeah, I understand what you're saying. When somebody's not, when somebody focuses on something and makes it seem like it's unique, that's super annoying. Yeah, especially when other places are dealing with it, and we miss the call to action to all those other places, so that whatever. But then also, if someone just casually listen to that, they think, oh, well, this only happens in Alabama, so who cares? Like, if Alabama
Exactly.
is the state that's that way, then what do we care? But yeah, well, that's tough, and that's something that okay, so we got the we got a certain amount of people that give a shit, and then we got people that give a shit and know what's going on, and then we got people that give a shit, know what's going on, and go online and do stuff about it, and then all of that, and then are online doing stuff and they're good at it, right? So that's where we're missing stuff. So got to give them credit for at least putting it all, getting it there. But yeah, when it's not perfect, it's super frustrating when they leave something hanging or leave something out or just do all this effort and then point it towards nothing or miss the point, I guess a better way to say it. But yeah, like I say, that's just the one thing or whatever you had to pick at, though, right? So it's not bad.
Yeah, I say, and like I said, it's a minor thing, and
And all the people that are members of Second Amendment Foundation, I don't know if anybody else is a member of that thing or not, but you get a lot of stuff in the mail from them. Like they send a lot of stuff in the mail, and they've been doing that since the 70s, I'm guessing. And it must be because it works. So that means there's a whole bunch of people out there that are probably not online if they're reading their freaking mail. And the Second Amendment Foundation, getting online at all. I mean, obviously, it's not going to be whatever straight to perfect or whatever, or straight to the most watched video on YouTube or anything. But the fact that they're in there and getting their feet wet with it is good because they're dragging the people that follow them along who probably never looked at a live thing either. So hopefully it's a introduction to a whole bunch of people to this forum, which I think is pretty efficient. It's not perfect or nothing, but it's certainly faster than waiting around for emails and shit.
Yeah, and like I was saying, the thing that because I was kind of nitpicking over it, but at the same time, like I said, I wasn't sure if Paul, because I heard a long time ago, if you're gonna be a host of something, you don't want to come off as knowing more than your guests, because you want the audience to be paying attention to the guests, not you. And so I was kind of wondering, did he
wrong? See, as someone who knows more and is a host, then that's where you always want to know more as a host.
Yeah. But so I wasn't sure if he was going on that basis, and it was just kind of like, oh, so let's talk about this and I'll let you explain it and everything. But like I said, I just felt like, hey, they could have mentioned that, Alabama's not the only state that has to deal with weird concealed carry laws, because like Pennsylvania being an open carry state, you can go carry wherever. I mean, right now we can't because we're under a state of emergency and all that BS, but under normal situations and everything, we can just open carry wherever that you can legally carry. But once you get into your vehicle, if you do not have a concealed carry permit, then you have to have the firearm separate from your ammunition and can't be easily accessible, yada, yada, yada. And it's really goofy. And there's people that get hemmed up with that all the time because they don't realize that once they get into their vehicle, it's considered concealing.
Yeah, it's a topic that I always talk about going to more than one CCW class, and that's one of the reasons is that's the kind of topic that if you go to one CCW class and they address a topic and you get whatever the answer is, or maybe there's even a question from another student, or you have a question and you get a follow-up answer, or like even a more involved answer or whatever, you might be like, oh, okay, I know about this topic now. But then you go to another CCW class 6 months later, and different instructor, different set of circumstances, history's happened, and then new students, and then similar topic but a different question comes up, and you can get an answer from an instructor or some feedback from a student or something that just sheds so much more light on something. And that's where I guess as one of the things that frustrates me is people that only ever pat each other on the back and are like interview each other and that, but never challenge each other, never have actual real discussion, right? The difference between real and fake is just all set up and engineered and manipulated. Its goal is to manipulate, So, it's only going to give you one side of a story, and it's going to be a presentation, right? Like, it's fake. Everything about it is freaking manipulated and fake. So when people do only that, and everything they do is focused towards that, they learn that, that's what they hone their craft on. The first time they have to talk with somebody, either in front of a camera or a microphone, or when it's recorded in some way, or just in real life, right? Either on a podium or just in real life, like just talking to people in a restaurant or a family dinner or a bar or whatever. Then all of a sudden it's not like, oh, I'm used to having everybody's hands tied and only can ask me questions I can answer, and I can answer questions that, you can ask questions that I know the answer to, I'm comfortable with. But so when people do this live stuff, it's an introduction to not just the like having to actually think and know stuff, because when you're writing or when you produce stuff, you can stop and research and come up with an idea and let it just disappear, because you don't need to retain anything. You can just always go to Google and always have a right answer for a presentation. But 5 minutes after the presentation, you don't have to retain any of that. You don't have to recall any of it, right? Especially if no one ever asks you or follows up or challenges you, if you've never given opportunity to get into the topic. If you just present all the time and walk away, then what I'm saying, like, that's a whole different type of situation than having actual real conversation. Because as soon as you allow people to ask questions and have feedback, then you can be challenged and you can get different angles on what you're presenting or what your perspective of it is, and that's where we evolve and grow and learn. And we also see the strengths and weaknesses of each other. And the other problem, I think, is that when we pull a bunch of people up that only ever do the surface stuff, never get challenged, and never have to think on their feet or anything, when we hold those people up to be to fight for us, then they can't. They're useless. They're figureheads, and they just stand there and look stupid, make us all look like dumbasses. Some of them, like the old schools, the guys that created stuff back in the day, maybe the guys and gals. I haven't seen too many of the gals because there aren't that many gals from back in the day. But they'll go on like any talk show and talk about like solid 2A focus type of whenever there's an answer to a question, it's going to have a 2A focus to it. But I've seen them on things like Univision and stuff, like just lay right into Spanish, because these guys just were able to communicate back in the day. So learning Spanish was just part of it. You didn't have translators or nothing. So these guys are super competent and confident, I guess, and able to have these conversations. But we all have to learn those skills. And the only way to learn them is practice, right? So you can't practice enough making presentations that look perfect all the time. Nobody makes enough of those presentations that they get practice. You make enough of them that you get practice doing the production of it, but you don't get any practice on the meat. So the live stuff is where you get the meat, I think. At least from, I don't know, what do you think? You've been watching enough of this live stuff. Crazy?
No, I think so too. Like you said, I like when people are challenging each other. When you watch something that's laid out, hey, we're only going to talk about this, this, and this, so just go and brush up on it. I'd rather have that one random question be asked where somebody starts to not necessarily squirm, but they've actually got to stop and think and process what was just said. Because then I don't know, I feel like I'm getting a genuine answer then instead of something that was rehearsed.
Yeah, or like scripted, or like reflex, like, oh, I'm so used to being presented with this, I just give them this answer, and there's no thought or real whatever. There's no like resolve to that answer. It's just the response you give out of reflex sometimes, or that's what some people do when they because no one will ever follow up. Here's what I say. Here's my response, and there's never any challenge to that. So everyone just walks away going, "Okay, I guess that's where we live." But that's just their boring ass back and forth from who knows, how long ago that's an echo of. But anyway, so they were talking about specifically the stuff in Alabama, I suppose. We'll see how the show develops, though. It sounds like it's daily, so that's cool. See what kind of well, since they have a lot of people's attention, we'll see how many people follow them onto the platform because that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Did they mention doing it on anything else? I'm sure they mentioned Facebook, but did they mention like on Streamer and the other Pro 2A ones?
No, I don't even think they mentioned Facebook, if I remember correctly. They just said, hey, this is what the heck? Chat bullet or talk bullet, whatever the heck they're calling it, and that they're just going to try and do it every day. I don't even think they were, like I said, I don't think they mentioned Facebook or anything else. I don't even think they mentioned like, hey, we're going to be just doing this on YouTube or anything. They just said, hey, we're doing this every day.
Right on. Well, I'm definitely not one that is going to require people to have a giant plan and to get a bunch of stuff prepared and to have all kinds of marketing ahead of time. So if they're just going to start doing it, then that's the way to do it. And then you figure out later if you did it right or how to do it better.
Yeah, I'm just excited that they're doing it. Like when that popped up today, I was like, what's this? And then I, start listening to it. I was like, oh, sweet. That's awesome.
There's no such thing as an illegal firearm in the United States. There is only the right to lawfully defend yourself in your homeland. I don't know if he's responding to something we said or if he's just saying that just to say it. Garrett saying Washington has a funny car or a funny carry like that too, makes you load or unload your handgun in the parking lot before you get in your car. Huh. I didn't know that part. Washington's always had some weird ones. I didn't know that was one. It would seem dumb, but I guess, yeah, I have no idea why they would care where you're loading or unloading or holstering, or I can't imagine why you'd require people to holster.
Well, that'd be the same thing here in PA, because again, once you enter your car, even if it's when you're outside your vehicle, you're open carrying your firearm. Once you enter your car, they consider that concealed. And if you don't have a concealed carry permit, then you're now breaking the law.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So it's not so much that it's telling you got to do anything in the parking lot. It's just saying once you're in your car, you're in a situation. So basically, you either have to do it in the parking lot or some. Yeah, I got you. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking of it backwards. Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. I'm aware of these things, but I'm in the I don't know, the asshole position of not living in it. So all I can do is think about them. I don't, encounter them very often. But I probably should pay more attention when I'm driving through some of the states because I pay attention to where I got CCW or not. But things like, what's it called? Oh, what do they call it? When you have to declare, I guess, the obligate duty to inform. That's what they call it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I've probably just traveled enough that, I know I don't go around, getting pulled over all the time, so it hasn't come up enough. But I've got the book usually with me that has all the different rules in it. I've certainly got the internet with me. It just doesn't come up enough. When I do get pulled over, they usually just say, "Do you got a gun?" You go, "Yeah," and then they go, "All right, you leave yours, and I'll leave mine." Everybody's happy. Or they don't even say that one. They just,
I was going to say,
don't even talk about it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I always thought the best rule of thumb was whether your state has a duty to inform or not. Just if they ask, yes, sir, I have it.
Yeah, and I think it's probably 80% the way you answer. They're going to understand real quick, at least out here, in places that they've asked like that. I guess not out here because one of them was in Kentucky or Tennessee maybe. But just the way the cop asks and the way that you answer right away tells them, right, like how comfortable and aware you are with guns and what. So, I don't know. And like I said, they haven't, I don't get pulled over that often. An unarmed neighbor is a liability. I don't know. I guess if you want to try to protect that neighbor, but I'm not too worried about that. My neighbors probably are not armed, but they've never been a liability to me. They help pay the taxes for our roads.
I don't talk to my neighbors, so I don't worry about them.
Yeah, we got a couple of neighbors that have been here as long as I've been here, longer than me, and then I've got neighbors that, or there's like a couple of houses on the block, let's say, that just can't keep, like, for whatever reason, people just keep moving in and out of them. But this is a neighborhood where some of the people are kind of old, like say the people that have been here longer than me are old, and then the people that move in and out are usually like young families. So I'm guessing they move in when they got like a kid or two, and they figure, oh, we'll cram two kids in one room or something because we have little houses around here. But then, they have another kid or something, or the kids get older and they're sick of being in the same room or something, and they figure it's worth getting a house with 2 bedrooms or something. Because that's what it seems like the people that come and go are the families that are kind of growing. But anyway, we haven't had any issues where anybody's a liability to anybody at all. Little old ladies living by themselves, got to mow their lawn for them and stuff. That could be a liability, I guess. We had a couple of good chats yesterday. Gary's show was pretty decent, and then a pretty 2A, I think, if I remember right. And then the Locked and Loaded was another good one.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how Locked and Loaded was. I didn't get to see that one.
It wasn't bad. It was worth listening to. They didn't have anybody on, but they were just kind of addressing stuff, and I thought they did a pretty good job. And I don't know. It's not like that. They have. I get the impression that they're that couple, right? And they've got their families, right? And I get the impression that their families are less into guns than them. So some of the times, I'm guessing when they're doing their show, they're talking to their own families, right? To their whoever it is, their cousins, or their brothers, sisters, or parents, or whoever it is, and then they're also talking to the people they know in 2A, but then they're also talking to, I guess, whoever the what do you call it, like the unknown person that watches some video, who everybody has to kind of address, probably if you're trying to create a video. And I think they do a pretty decent job, or at least what happens when you try to address that set of people is it comes out pretty decent. So anyway, they chatted yesterday a couple of times. There was things that they got into that I just thought were well said, or not like they discovered something brand new, but the way that they kind of just ran it down in the show, considering who might be ever watching that show. I think they just did a really good job of kind of breaking some stuff down yesterday.
Yeah, I still need to go back and watch that for sure. Seems like they always have a good show. I haven't found one that I haven't liked.
I mean, there's channels that have shows that I'll watch and I'll be like, that was boring. That was like, didn't add nothing to nothing. It just talked for a while. But it wasted some time, but it didn't add nothing. Like their shows, I think they have good guests on and stuff. They have fun with them. They're not the typical like, hey, this is so and so. Tell us who you are. Tell us why you do your thing. Like, so we got to hear the same freaking story over and over. I mean, you do need to hear somebody's story, and it's interesting to hear somebody's story more than once for from different angles, or after some amount of time having them listen to it again or something might be interesting. But if that's all they ever do every time they're a guest, that's all they do is describe their thing. Super boring, right? And it's like kind of lame. So if somebody's whole channel is just to copy what somebody else already did a couple of times and try to do it again, then that's super boring. It's just like watching a shit ton of reruns in a different language or something. So they don't do that. They just get right in and usually know the people, so they just start chatting or whatever. So I find that it's interesting getting to another layer of conversation, like listening to Tony Simon or somebody who's a friend of theirs, chat with them. It's not like the first time they ever met. So, that part of it's fun. And then like this, when they didn't have anybody on, they still kind of dug in, had some fun. I wouldn't call it fun. Fun for 2A people. It was probably kind of nerdy, if anything. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with Ron, dude. So just think about that we are on the doorstep of losing this republic. Well, we have a democratic republic, so we don't have a plain old republic. This ain't Star Wars or Nazis. So yeah, and we're not on the doorstep of losing it any more than we always were. So yeah, wish you well. So if you came here to fight or you came here to get mad at somebody, what the hell? Nothing about my marketing of this show indicates to you that I'm here to perpetuate like rah 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 hate other people bullshit. Losing the republic? No, this is what's the word? Those who what's the word? You have to what's the thing? Oh man, I can't even think of it. Liberty requires eternal vigilance. Shit, I had to dust off my old ass platitudes. Liberty requires eternal liberty, right? Freedom is what we all got. We born free, right? We live in a country that allows freedom, that doesn't infringe on it. So we're all free. Liberty is how we interact with each other as free people, so that my freedom doesn't kill somebody else or their freedom doesn't make me stink or something. So liberty requires eternal vigilance. Done. Like I'm done. That's my only platitude I need. I'm not in fear of losing my republic. I grew up knowing I was going to have the burden of eternal vigilance every single day. What does eternal mean? Forever. Eternal doesn't mean like for next week or until the elections or last week we shouldn't have had to do it anymore, or back in my old days it wasn't as bad as, and oh, my grandparent, my kids should never have to do it. Eternal, always, ever, always, vigilance. Oh, I'm going to go take a nap. Oh, I'm going to rest and let somebody else do it. Oh, I'm going to complain because somebody else wasn't doing it good. Not vigilance. So eternal vigilance, liberty requires eternal vigilance. That's the only platitude I need. And that's what this show's all about. So I don't have a problem with Ron, but if you want to fight, yeah, I'll fight you. I'm not going to fight you with your slap fight war that you want to have with somebody else, but I'll fight you with the idea that we're about to lose a republic. The only way we lose a republic is when people decide they're going to let go and drop it. But I don't know people that do that. And if you're looking for a show where people are virtue signaling how they're not going to drop it so hard, nah, we just do it. We don't have to virtue signal shit here. Yeah, guns are not for hunting, they're for tyrants. So what the fuck are we even talking about, dude? Do anybody know who this person is? Nobody here has suggested that guns for anything but hunting, so, or for whatever the hell you're suggesting here, so whatever.
His name looks familiar, but I don't know where the heck I've seen him.
That's so too, until he came up with all this rhetoric. So I don't know if he's just old and this is the only thing he's got, or he's, I don't know, with the weird bicycle thing. Oh, that's a motorcycle. I thought it was like one of them fat wheel bicycles. Maybe he's from like Portland or something, and he's just figuring out that guns are not for hunting. I don't know what his deal is. But hell, there was a link. So instead of doing anything, all you did is try to kind of slide into the texts, I guess, and didn't find what you're looking for. So gave you an opportunity to rag on people that just want to slap fight each other, tickle fight. That's really what they're doing.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen his name pop up maybe over on Matt's channel or on Discord maybe, but I can't say for sure.
Well, somebody who thinks the Republic's going to fail would probably hang out and watch Matt's chat. they don't have a very positive, opinion of, I don't know, anything really. They don't think that history exists, or that people have ever worked together, or that individual self-interest results in a mutual self-interest based on history or anything. So they always want to look like we're always at the end of a precipice, or we're always at the edge of a cliff. I guess it's like looking out the window of an airplane, being like, "Oh, we're about to fall." Except you're in an airplane and you're not going to fall, but looks like you're not going to. If you don't think about it, you might look like you're going to fall.
So going back to the locked and loaded Latinos, I think you brought up a good point and didn't even realize it. You had mentioned that since they didn't have a guest on, it almost felt like they were just kind of almost like talking to their family with this episode, and that made me think. For some people that are wondering, where do I start talking about 2A? Start with your family. With the family I was raised in, while it was pro-gun and whatnot, the activism side definitely isn't there, and it's a good place to start. I kind of get the whole roll of the eyes thing when I get on my soapbox from them sometimes, but if you can't talk to your own family about it, how are you going to talk to a stranger about it?
Yeah, I hear you. It depends on the family. Some families are a bunch of jerks. Some families are just going to agree with everything you say. So I hear you, but right, like not just that, but and then I would say, like, I'm not going to bother telling my family. What is my family going to carry? It's like my mom, like one person. So um, I don't know. I hear you, but I would also say you need to, or it's valuable also. You don't need to necessarily, but it is valuable also to chat with, I don't know, others, or preach into the choir. Like, all of it's good, but none of it's required, I guess, is the thing. Because then it just makes it seem like, what if you don't got a family, or like say, what if your family's just a bunch of jerks and they don't want to talk to you about that stuff?
Oh yeah, and I mean, you're going to encounter that, and that's actually one of those deals that where you could end up, talking to somebody, and then you think the door's open to talk about 2A, and they're like, "Fuzz off! I don't want to talk about that." And you're like, "Oh, whoops."
Well,
So
one of the things we did with the
I
patch.
think in a sense it's still.
Go ahead.
What's that, G? You broke up.
I keep cutting you off. Go ahead.
Oh no, you were breaking up. I couldn't understand you. I just heard you say something about the patch.
I was just saying that the reason when we originally came up with Every Second Matters, it kind of, if you listen to those first shows, there was like 3 shows, maybe 2, 3 shows where it kind of got honed. And it originally was started with campus carry and open holster or empty holsters and all this. And then when it eventually honed it down to the patch, or the logo, I should say, either on a patch or a hat, really the logo though, to point at on a shirt or a hat or whatever. The idea was that you could bank that. So, I guess what we're talking here isn't 100% of the time. It might be that your family ain't worth talking to at Thanksgiving, but the rest of the time they're fine. There might be times when it's better or worse, or, somebody's just busy right now. They got something going on, or there's times when there's nothing going on and now you're looking for something to talk about. So anyway, the idea of the patch of the Every Second Matters sort of logo, the way it's written, or the way that it's kind of like that, it's descriptive, but not evident. What's the word? Like, it's not apparent what it's about, but once you know what it's about, it makes sense. But since it doesn't say Second Amendment on it, it doesn't necessarily leap out that it's a gun thing. Anyhow, that whole thing was to, a layer of it was to be able to say, like, hey, remember that patch that I have? Remember how On the second, I'm always having a hangout, or I always have a conversation with my friends online. So like I'm thinking, you're off, something happens, like you get a flat tire, and now you're just all of a sudden you got 8 hours together with somebody where normally that wouldn't happen, and that's the kind of time when maybe that's an opportunity to talk about 2A or whatever, where normally that person would be super unapproachable or not somebody you'd have talked about 2A with. Some of my family is too smart to protect themselves. Well, some of your family has freaking hammers that have lightning in them and freaking snakes and shit and whatever. So whatever, your family is a little different than the rest of our family. And then I was going to say, as far as chatting 2A or in the Second Amendment or on every Second Matters and shit like that, is I don't know if everyone needs the skill set. Maybe it's worth exploring to see if it's something you like, or if you definitely do or don't have the skill set. But the idea of just going up and chatting with somebody, not in an inappropriate setting, but somebody out of the blue or somebody that you don't necessarily know, and just going right into 2A, to gun show or something like that, or at a range. I'm not saying I did it or nothing. We weren't really doing every second matters back when I was volunteering at the range, but for a long time I volunteered at the range, mainly because I'm cheap, and that way I could shoot for free anytime I wanted. So when I was volunteering, I had to basically be there and pay attention to people and watch for safety and whatever. So there was times when somebody come up, and let's say somebody's like, "Oh, look at my new 9mm. It's so good, 9mm. So it's great caliber, and I love metrics and everything." And I'm like, I'm not necessarily getting paid, but I'm also not supposed to be rude to them. So if I'm looking for something to change the subject, I could have been like, "Hey, what do you think about that Second Amendment instead of your stupid 9mm, right?" So that would have been an opportunity to throw stuff out there or use Second Amendment conversations in a different way, I guess, than just with somebody who's amenable or in the mood, or would be interested in talking about it anyway or whatever, like kind of not forcing it on somebody, but using it as leverage or as a tool in a different way. And that might have been interesting, actually. I'm thinking, just because there was, I don't know if you could imagine going to a range I would go maybe twice a week sometimes, and then once I was working there, if there was people that had actual schedules that were supposed to be there, and if one of those guys needed to do something else, have a day off, they kind of wanted to fill their slot. They didn't want to leave anybody hanging, so I would help out when I could. And when you're there quite a bit, it gets boring. Number one, you've talked to most of the people that are regulars, and the other people that aren't regulars aren't talking because they're not regulars. They're new and they're whatever, just being new. So there was a whole lot of repeat conversations, either of old people I got nothing else to talk about, or boring 9mm people I got nothing else to talk about, or just somebody doesn't have a lot of guns, or the other side of it, they got so much to talk about, holy moly. So sometimes, just to reel it back, it might have been interesting to throw a Second Amendment out there once in a while. A lot of missed opportunities now that I think about it. Dang, I feel like I'm not even 2A. Can you be not 2A by remembering times when you weren't 2A? I wonder if that makes you less 2A by remembering times when you didn't take the opportunity to be 2A. Find out who.
I'm trying to think of something witty there. I'm not sure. It's a great question.
I feel like a lot of people. I feel like a lot of people don't remember how not 2A they've been, and that's even more anti 2A. But it's hard to prove.
Well, I was about to say, I think if we are going on that basis, I would be missing so many 2A moments that I could have seized that I'd probably be like pro or anti-gun. I'd be like, oh wow. So
like you turn into Biden. Like, oh dang it, I turned into Biden. I've been watching a lot of the Star Trek STD. Got the Star Trek STD on the head. So in that one, it's a Star Trek. I don't even know. I think it's like after Earth goes into space, but then before Star Trek. I really don't know. It's an earlier Star Trek than it's not like at the end of Star Trek. It's somewhere in the beginning of Star Trek's, I think. And somewhere in the beginning of Star Trek's, like way before Voyager and those TV shows. I think it's even before Next Generation, I think. I don't really know. It's somewhere in there. It's shuffled into the beginning of Star Trek somewhere. But what happens is they take their spaceship into another universe, another dimension. So it's even though it's in the Star Trek timeline, it's old. It's like flipped because they whipped to another universe and all kinds of craziness. So anyway, I've got that on the brain, I guess. So we've been somehow managed to go 40 minutes, only moped once. So if there's any other gun topics, this would be a time to bring them up. There's a link out there. This is the link. You click on it, and then you become a live member of the conversation in here. Or you can type like this guy or that guy and bring up topics. Otherwise, let's see. We had Halloween, and I didn't really see anything good for Halloween. There's a couple of chats, I guess. Then we had SHOT Show cancel. I think that happened. Did that happen since the last show?
No, I think it happened before it.
Oh, okay. So I've been going around trying to get people to poke NSSF to have SHOT Show in Texas or someplace anyway. Like,
Yeah.
we're already planning on having SHOT Show. It's not like anybody threw away their booths or anything. But if they're suggesting that Vegas won't let us have 1,000 people in a room together, then one of the other states will, then guess what? It's time to move from Vegas already. So just point it at another city and carry on as usual. I don't know why they would just go straight to, oh, Vegas says no, so end 30, how many years is it now? Oh, I think since 76 or something, so quite a few years of show.
In 76, that'd be what? 44 years?
And as soon as I said that, I think I'm mixing it up with GRPC, so I'm looking.
Oh,
No, NRA show has been forever, but it's not as long as that.
yeah, I would like to see SHOT Show move around and not just be in Vegas. One, I mean, it's for a selfish reason, just because if I ever am able to go and it's, not in Vegas, it's somewhere closer, it'd be a lot more feasible for me. But I understand that Vegas, with all the hotels and all that BS and the big casinos, has a lot of options for people going there. So
Okay, it's 1979. So it started in 1979 in St. Louis, but it's been in. Let's see, I got a whole bunch of data over here actually. So I've accumulated all this because they don't put it anywhere because they're not even proud of their own facts. But we started going in 2005. Before that, let's see, it kind of bounced. So when we started going, it was still happening in Florida, and then it was in two different places in Vegas until it hit Sands, and then once it hit Sands, it never changed again. But right before we started going, it had always been bouncing around like a ping pong ball. So they had one show in St. Louis, one in San Francisco, two of them in Houston, three in Orlando, three in Atlanta, four in New Orleans, six in Dallas. So it wouldn't even be hard for them to go back to Dallas. The last one in Dallas was in 1996, so it has been a while. We went to the two of them in Orlando, and that is an amazing convention center. It is definitely the best SHOT Show I've experienced is in Florida, except for the weather. The weather's horrible, but the show itself, I don't have pictures of it up good, but very, very different than what we experience in Vegas because it got windows. I don't think the whole roof was windows, but certainly skylights and shit. So natural lighting and seeing all the stuff, the guns and stuff in real light is just better. It's different. It's real. So, except for flying there, it cost us $3,000 back in the day to go there. Bring a couple of people there, and that was super cheap. That was sleeping on the floor, 3 in a hotel room, bill for 2 type of shit. Except for that part of it, Florida was all right, but Texas would be the best of all worlds. It's right in the middle of the states, and everybody could get there. Nobody's going to complain except for, well, everybody would have to complain about going to Texas, I guess, but Texans would like it, and they've been there 6 times already. It's the place they've been most. So, yeah, I think they should have immediately said, "Oh, okay," and that would have told Vegas to bite it, because Vegas was like, "Here, you can't have that many people in there," and then they could have said, "Yeah, well, guess what? Then we're not going to have it in your town no more." You defaulted on any contracts. Didn't move with contracts, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, let them count that as like, sue us or whatever. Like, whatever. We need to have this, and just because you're deciding to not let us doesn't mean we don't have to. We don't get to do it. But anyway, I think it would have been uniting for the industry. What's happening instead is all the observers are, critiquing, which big deal. That's what they're going to do. But it gives them, some sort of like, they love it when they can go, "Oh, I called it," right? So it's given all of them people help. Why? Like, they don't do anything. All they do is encourage people to not do stuff. So it's helping a bunch of people that don't do anything except dissolve. And then a bunch of people that were, I don't know, I guess sore because they didn't make enough money at SHOT Show, or I don't know, for whatever reasons, they just, didn't feel like it was successful enough for them. I've seen a couple of those kind of people, be butthurt about it not being there and saying, "Oh, it wasn't worth the money anyway, and who cares, and it's time to have a different type of show," and all that. So basically, you got your mopes and you got your, like your, I don't know what to call them, people that are the other mopes. You got your mopes and your other mopes, and all it did is encourage, embolden the mopes who don't even like to be emboldened. So they're upset that they're getting emboldened. Like, you can't even make them happy. So I don't know why SHOT Show is trying to make them happy. You're helping stupid Vegas be a bunch of virtue signaling jerks. So get rid of all that, take that from them and give it to Texas, who's doing the opposite. And then the other thing is that the people are questioning what SHOT Show's for or whatever, rightfully. I'm not saying, that SHOT Show is perfect or nothing. But, if people are already questioning what its value, then use it as a way to show what the value of assembly is. There's a reason assembly is in the First Amendment, because it's important for human beings to get together and to understand that they're not alone, right? And to show to show the significance to others who aren't in the group, how many people are of similar mindset, right? There's all kinds of reasons. And then, of course, all the advantages you have when people get to collaborate and work together. So you got growth and evolution of all the stuff that happens at SHOT Show. And then it's just an exercise in doing something. And honestly, SHOT Show has been getting the way it's gotten the reputation it's gotten because of the opinion people have of it. And that's that's fostered by the fact that it's been stagnating in that stupid Sands vault forever. It's stinky and it smells like cheese in there, and they like it like that. So they need to get out of their horrible cheese smell and comfort zone and move it to Texas just to figure out that their elbows and knees work still, because they're digging their own grave. And all they did is say, "Oh, we're going to continue to dig our grave, but everybody come back next year and watch us do it," instead of, "Okay, sure, let's show you, Vegas. Come on, industry. Let's go show the world that, next," and keep moving on. At a time when the industry just blah, 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 sold so much and blah, 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 fake millions of new gun owners. Like, let's act like universal background checks don't exist. And it's just all new new gun owners that came out of nowhere. But whatever. Why not let's not have SHOT Show. Biggest year ever, blah, blah, blah. Let's just not have the industry show. It just shows that they're not interested in leading the industry. NSSF, I mean.
Yeah.
Plus, right in front of like everybody's like, oh, you mean that the 170-year-old NRA, which has brought together hunters and sports shooters and new shooters and old people, rich people and poor people and people in the country and people in the city, for 170 years, there's 12 people that have been dicks for 30 years, but oh yeah, it's pretty difficult to tell those 12 assholes to get out. It's really difficult to tell 12 rich assholes to get out of our organization. That's so difficult. Let's let it crumble to the ground and make some marshmallows while we watch it burn. Pat each other on the back so fucking hard that get boners saying how we told you so and how the NRA's piece of shit. So right after that bonfire, let's show how weak ass and useless NSSF is. That's a perfect move by NSSF at a time when, like, let's virtue sig like NSSF is like, oh, let's NRA's being torn down from the inside and the members are just watching it burn. Oh, let's virtue signal the shit out of SHOT Show. I don't know what the fuck NSSF was thinking. Well, they're not paying attention, so they're just going to be the next, like, fish on the fire. Bunch of what is it, that movie where all the kids get on an island? They don't start thinking about the future. They start thinking about immediate needs. So they just ate NRA, right? Because they were hungry. Now they're about to eat NSSF. Then we won't have any old organizations. Then we'll just have young organizations with skinny pants. There's pants.
No skinny pants. Can't have that.
Wearing. You can be pants. Just if you went around wearing skinny pants, people are going to say stuff.
My cousin does that shit all the time, and I ask him every time, where are your balls? He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, if I wore those, and then I just stopped there. I was like, I can't wear them. I was like, the fact that you do wear them, I was like, where the fuck are your nuts? He's like, shut up. I'm like, it's a legitimate question.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess I don't know. We're probably not being corked tomorrow. Everybody's cracking their knuckles and making soup and doing whatever they're going to do to make tomorrow big watch days, more than likely. I've got a couple of packages coming.
Cool.
I'm looking forward to getting in the mail tomorrow.
I'm looking forward to some more mail tomorrow as well. We have to hit the counter and pick up another package from your websites. Stoked.
That would be from a while still. That's not the stuff from this weekend, huh?
No, it's still one of those in the interim. I couldn't resist all month long. I used all of my discretionary money.
I do appreciate it.
I know how that goes.
Yeah, we got a patch problem, don't we, Barbecue?
On the bright side, G-Web's benefits from it.
I was going to say, I appreciate everybody's support. It keeps the lights on and things cooking here. But still got another couple of months of fun. I had an interesting conversation. I know I saved some money. I just have to follow up on it. And if everything works out, I've saved some money. Not so much save money, but made my life a lot easier. On a phone call the other day. Actually, that happened. It must have been during Gizzard's call yesterday. So I was waiting to call a place that didn't open until whatever time in the morning out here. And that was like somewhere in the middle of Gizzard's show yesterday. So I had just typed in there because a bunch of people were in there because you know how Gizzard's show is long and people come and go. And so the room had changed since I'd asked the question before. So I had put in there, like, what do you think about moving SHOT Show to Texas or Tulsa? And then I think I hit enter. Then the phone that I had been calling and getting like a mission, basically it was going to voicemail because they weren't open yet. As soon as I hit the, I wasn't thinking, as soon as I hit put the question in there, the guy picks up the phone. So I totally missed any kind of reply on the Gizzard show about that question I asked because I immediately had to mute everything and just talk on the phone for a while. But that was a great conversation. And like I say, the guy ended up telling me some stuff that, well, I guess technically it'll save me some money, but it'll allow me to maintain saving some money that I've been saving in a way easier way, if that makes sense. But anyway, so yeah, I'm pretty stoked. I really have to wait until I guess call tomorrow to follow through on that. But oh dang,
Well,
so Wheel already got his. So I sent a bunch of stuff off from the Glocktober extravaganza, and that stuff all went out Saturday. So Wheeled already got his. It's only Monday, right? So that worked pretty good. That got there pretty quick.
Did he get one of the PVC AK patches?
I'm guessing so. We can't do nothing here. We have to, well, you can't really carry it a pole, but I'm not gonna, I don't think I'm gonna walk over there. I don't think I'm gonna bother driving. I heard on the radio today that 10 million people, pretty much, almost 10 million people have already voted, and only 30 million people ever vote anyway, right? So they're acting like, look, I was listening to NPR, so I don't know. I wouldn't go around recommending that. But according to NPR, that's an indication that Biden's going to wail on Trump because all those early voters were just like extra Biden voters. But I don't know. I think that's more of a factor of there's only ever a half of the country votes anyway, and a third of them already voted, like a third of the people that normally vote already voted. I think that's a factor of everybody being told that they're going to die if they go to the same room with somebody else or stand closer than 6 feet with somebody else. So a shit ton of people were probably like, oh crap, I better do everything I can to put this in the mail and just my mailman will die. Then that way I don't have to die standing that close to somebody. Yeah, they said like 97 or something today, or when I was listening to the radio, I think it was 97 or something close to 100.
That's a fair turnout already then.
Well, like I say, if it turns out that still the third or the half or whatever, like the 30 million, wait, the 300 million, no, we don't get 300 million people vote. So that would be 2/3 of what vote. I don't know, whatever. But if this is saying that the people that have already voted are additional to what normally votes, then that would be interesting to see that many people turn out. I just don't think that'll happen. I mean, I don't pay enough attention to elections, certainly not comparing them, but is there a way to know which election had the most turnout? I don't think it's like every election year there's more turnout. It's probably the opposite. I think there's probably less every year, right? Kind of seems like the more hype, the fewer people turn out because people get discouraged and confused and don't bother.
That'd be an interesting bar graph to see.
Well, here we go. This is a better comparison. Pancakes is saying that 123 voted last year and that 90 million have voted already. Okay, so then that makes sense. About half the people vote. There's 300 something million of us. So that makes sense. And then this is saying that pretty much most people that voted last year have already voted then. So that's my question. Tomorrow, when I go to the polls, like a regular actual American instead of some like communist male voter, I'm gonna go like stand in a line with nobody, I guess, because freaking 9 out of 10 people have already voted, or are 100 million people still going to vote tomorrow, and I still got to wait in line?
Well, I don't think they're going to have like the utilization of mass transit from retirement centers and care facilities and the like they did in previous years. I think those forces have already been marshaled. They won't be showing up at the polls themselves. Um, I mean, I'll have to
Oh, I
see
get
what
your
goes.
plan. Where they like do the shuttle thing. Like I'll take a bunch of
Yeah,
old people, 12 at a time to go vote. Yeah, like exactly. Like those for the people that already had to vote in the mail because they got scared shitless that they're going to die if they go to vote, right?
yep, yep. So it'll be interesting to see tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and go to my polling place in the mid afternoon, see what kind of leftover lunch crowd there is, and before soccer moms and dads have to be picking up kids for practices and stuff like that. So going to see
I
what the
like,
turnout's going to be like at my station.
I like to go right in the morning so that the voting cards are fresh. They're not all wilted and been sitting out after.
Right on. Do they
You
give
don't want
you?
to go. You don't want to go right in the morning because then they're using the leftover ones from from the last time. So after the leftover ones are gone and they start tearing into the new stuff, that's right when I want to get there. About half an
Pop,
hour after that.
pop the seal and make sure you get to them before their freshness date expires. Nice. I hope we don't have any dangling chads, though. Do we remember that, fellas? The dangling chads of Florida?
I don't know if I pay attention, but it seems like we go back and forth between a thing that you poke. 'Cause I have had that kind where you have like a
Mm-hmm.
little metal thing you poke and then a marker. Lately, it's just been a damn marker and a little circle, like a test where you have like little circles, little ovals.
Yeah.
But maybe that's been like that for a while. Maybe we haven't had them now that I'm thinking about it. We haven't had that metal thing in a while. But yeah, the I thought the metal thing was better because then you can just scan it over light. But I guess they use uh, an electric eye instead of just a light.
My first vote was on an election machine that was installed in the 40s in my hometown. It was a single stall, and it was the kind where you walked in, and there was like a jettison lever um, uh, off to the right hand side, and when you stepped in, the curtains were open, and you pulled the handle, and the curtains closed behind you. They hung just below your waist, so people could see your feet, but nothing else. Open from the top, and it had little mechanical levers. The all of the different levels of election, national, state, local, and then any extra like bond issues. All of those had to be populated with these little slide-in cards, and you went when you went to vote, you could do the party line, which was a bit like throwing the master breaker in in a breaker box. It would just bonk, and everything would slide over one way or the other. I didn't want to do that. My first time, I thought myself to be an informed young voter, first time, and I wanted to select each individual, and so I eschewed that the other tendency that I think a lot of people had to just line vote. And yeah, that was the only time I've ever been in a situation like that. And since then, it's been by hand, both on those scanner cards and on punch cards. And yeah, I don't know what it's going to be this year, so gonna check it out tomorrow.
Is that like the same place? They've changed it, or you moved and so that you didn't
Oh
have
no, I moved. That was the election. That was '88, and I came home from university to vote.
I think
And
mine probably would have been 88 also, but I don't really remember. It must not have been remarkable, whatever the hell I voted in. It wasn't anything cool, at least I don't remember anything like that. It was probably like them things that almost look like a bathroom scale on stilts, and then somehow there's a curtain hanging off of it. It's like some little weird
yeah,
weekly little contraption, but somehow it's a little table and a curtain, and it's like a little pop-up little voting booth. Like I think it was some rickety thing like that, if I remember right.
yeah. I can remember my dad talking about having to wheel those things out and set them up. They would kind of collapse down onto themselves, and they'd just be shoved into this back room where they were stored until the next election cycle. But yeah, it was the poll. People loved that because it was, quick in, quick, quick and easy in and out. Set it up and tear it down. They were just done. So, but I did voice a concern. My dad's been a poll volunteer for 20 plus years, and I don't remember what source I got this from today, but somebody was suggesting that Antifa and the like were circulating the suggestion that individual cities turn out to polling places after they close tomorrow. I'm not sure exactly what that's doing, except avoiding the legal restrictions on how close you can be to an election site and picketing and things like that. I think they want to wait for things to clear out of voters, but I'm concerned about all of the poll workers because not all of that is digitally transferred information. It's stored information. They have to return it to the county election commission. That's downtown. Okay. So I have concern about poll workers tomorrow. I certainly hope that there are, and I'm thinking about doing it for my own. I think I'm going to go post up. And if people need an escort off of the property in downtown, they can fall in behind me. I don't want a bunch of old people to be badgered and harassed or threatened or hurt over this. And the idea that people are trying to position themselves in advance for that kind of, potential activity, I don't want any disasters. I just don't. People need to be safe tomorrow. Be very, very safe.
So we're in a country that's 2020 started in 17 something. So been around for a couple hundred years and been through a couple of world wars, right? And there's all these other countries that are in different levels of size and whatever. So we're the third largest economy. I don't know, as far as physical size, we're one of the biggest because we're an accumulation of states, which are the size of all of Europe, right? Like we're big. So you got socialists who have like a political thought frame of mind, and then you got socialists who like really want the world or whatever, and they've got maybe resources behind them and a strategy and a plan, right? And they're gonna either create or react to situations all the time because their overall goal is taken over, right? So of all the times in the world and of all the circumstances, you really think that like socialists are like, oh, let's go grab America. And the whole country took a knee. I mean, the whole world took a knee. The entire globe is running around freaking out because of sickness and all of the chaos because no one's taken the lead and in the sickness or whatever. So they could go basically, if you're this socialist, mad group of people that can, have the resources to take out the United States, the third largest economy, huge country, and you could go to any country on the planet, just take it, own it. Venezuela, bam. Like Brazil, bam, right? You could just take any country you wanted right now, but they're going to come up here and half-ass the United States? Or is this a shit ton of theater in order to get people to manipulate or to mess with people, to get them to vote or to get them to throw in contributions? Who really gives a shit if they vote? If they put in a bunch of contributions of money, then who gets to go home with another laptop full of videotapes of smoking crack or whatever? I'm not blowing off anything, but eternal vigilance. Like every single election, get ready for chaos. But I was a hell of a lot more worried when the Russians had resources and an actual plan and like had a whole system behind them that was successful at the time, and millions of people that were willing to step in and just take over the United States. They could have like chemical bombed us. Like they could have taken us out biologically and just took over our cities. Socialists, like a half a dozen of them or 200 of them, 100,000 of them to our millions of people. are seriously like going to choose the United States to come in, and then what, they're going to be successful? So I hear what you're saying 100%. Nobody should be being mean to old people, but I'm more worried about like fucking gay bikers on acid messing with voting people, or cartels, reality cartels, but messing with voting people, right? Or just plain old, I don't know, whatever we had here, just jerks, or somebody wants to run a casino and the vote says they can't, so they're going to mess with the old lady so that they can, just the local stuff, that the local, whatever they make movies about in Saturday night movies. But no, I'm not worried about a giant takeover by Antifa, because I think that was all theater. I guess we're going to know, and I'm not trying to call nothing. I'm just fucking talking in the middle of the night one night. But I think that was all a bunch of whatever the mean, like antagonistic version of virtue signaling. That was their like negative signaling to the country to try to yank people's emotions. They were like, well, we can yank their emotions by showing them a puppy. We can yank their emotions by showing them a starving child. We can yank their emotions by setting something on fire. And that was just flavor of the month. But they got nothing to gain tomorrow about doing that anymore. So I'd be very surprised if anything crazy happens more than just the manipulated who are sitting there at the starting blocks, like waiting, right? Thinking that they're about to see the same thing that happened all year long. They're all going to run out and go, shit, what happened? There's not big piles of bricks. Like, what happened to all the dozens of people that were here like 3 months ago? When those people aren't being in anymore, then it's just those 16 kids that actually live there. That ain't the same kind of passion. That ain't the same kind of anger. That's just the manipulated figuring it out. And ideally, a week or two after that, they're all going to be like, dang it, we were played for suckers for months. And they just walked away. When everybody just takes their banners and goes home, then it's like, oh, crap, we were just being played. I'm not calling nothing. We'll see if it happens or not, but I suspect that's the world we're living in, not the world where socialists just decided to get better organized than the entire Soviet Union and figured out a way to take us down strategically with a strike so deadly that I'm sitting here duped, like, oh, we're done. I'm so duped, by the well-organized socialists who are gonna, change their tactics and not take out fried chicken places and fucking video rental places, but they're actually going to take down infrastructure tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, you strike me funny, man. I like that. Yeah, I don't think anything is going to be outlandish either, but I just have that extra, I have to qualify everything, these days with, I just want people to be, reasonable and responsible, socially conscious where you need to be, and, vote your beliefs and let everybody else do the same.
But it is interesting to see the 91 ahead of time. Everybody's talking about how everything's going to fucking change and shit. So I don't know if that'll change to where, well, the thing is, the people that voted this time are those old people. Are the old people that are scared to death that if they go get breathed on by a youngin', right, they're going to get the disease and die. They're going to be the 3%. They don't want to be that 3%, right? So those are the people that just voted. Are they ever going to vote again? I don't know. If they're alive, maybe they'll vote in 4 years like that. But you know what I'm saying? Is that really a change in voting, or did the boomers just figure out how to vote in their last election?
I think that might be it right there.
Because that's the other thing that nobody has brought up. And one of the reasons I guess I can be so skeptical is that nobody brings up any of this, like, change of baton. The fact that our parents are a huge chunk of the population and they're dying. They're gone. They're on their way out, especially with the 4-year cycle we're talking about. Like, their influence is gone. So whatever they do, if they decide that blue is better than pink goes out of business. Like, it doesn't even matter. Like, all they have to do is think about something and it's profitable, right? Like, that's a giant piece of the population. And the politicians have been playing on that for a long time. And the songs they sing to them ain't the songs they sing to their grandkids. So it's going to be a whole different concert next year or next election. That's why I think it got so crazy this time. They had to scare the shit out of old people this time. Old people that had been through wars and shit. luckily not luckily, but because they can't see no more and they can barely hear, they were able to just start a bunch of shit on fire and act like World War III was happening. And they got them scared and they got them to all vote ahead of time. Did they get them to all vote crazy, or did they all vote, their whatever consistently, their traditional way?
Yeah, hard telling since we don't know the split on those that have voted already.
Do you think
Have to
it'd be better or worse if they gave us like a rundown, like 91,000 people have already voted, here's the results? Because they don't do that, right? They just say the votes are in, but they don't say they don't even count them, right? They just know that they exist.
Right. I think that it might drive some people to the polls late, if they thought that there could be if they could affect a change in the outcome more than just how they might have valued their vote, being a single voice cast. I know that I might.
There'd be a lot more voters, right? Especially in California and shit. And I think
in the Western time zone, no doubt.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it would change nothing. It would probably be annoying because it would be like, oh, so and so's in the lead, and then a bunch of people would vote, and then that person wouldn't necessarily be in the lead anymore. So it would definitely be, there'd be like more popcorn sales or whatever. It would be more interesting. But I don't know if that would make it better or not. It would definitely, like, what the hell were they talking about the other day in some chat where like, oh no, once you learn how to do it, it works. It's like, well, big deal. Like, you can always adapt to something. That doesn't make it better. Like, just because we can vote by mail, does that make it better to vote by mail? Or in this case, if people could be aware, like as you're voting, if there was a little thing, like when the McDonald's thing would tell you how many hamburgers they sold, or some other things like maybe the telethon or something where they'll have a countdown. So like, or maybe like one of those slots things when you go to, I don't know if they call it incremental slots or something, or
progressives. Yeah.
So you'll go there, and as you're playing, the thing keeps getting bigger and bigger. Like, that would be interesting to see the things happen in front of you. But again, it would be basically worthless data because all during it, it's just fluff. It wouldn't only matter until the end anyway. All during it, it would just be like watching gas gauge on a Indianapolis 500. Like, who really cares? They're going to fill up so many times that who cares how much gas they have at any one time, right?
Yeah. They do as the time zones close out polls. They do start giving
result.
Certain percentages of precincts reporting in at this point indicate that the vote is this way, kind of stuff. And then it always does, and then we're balancing the electoral college against the West Coast. And yeah, it still gets kind of freakish, but I've seen a couple of different distribution maps for this year's expected electoral college turnout. And I've never liked that damn system. I just never have. I mean, how do you feel being in the, barbecues up there in Pennsylvania? That's, old school East Coast. You're down in the Southwest where it's a lot more sparse. I'm kind of right in the damn middle when it comes to that sort of thing. How do you see it impacting you in your region, G?
Are you talking about how they start to talk about the results as they happen?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, it does mean that we can technically vote. If we voted at the last possible minute, we can vote. Like, we'd be able to hear some or see some news from back east and still vote technically. Now we can't actually, because we just changed to mountain. So California could do it better than us now because they're still another hour the other way. But yeah, because we can't, right? We're in mountain. So we're only 2 hours behind you now, or behind them now, where California's 3. So yeah, by the time, what do you figure? Polls close at 5 or something? So at 5 p.m. California time, it's 8 p.m. Eastern. So the polls had closed for a while and they had been plenty of time to count. So I think that's what it is every year what happens is the time zone changes and we are only 2 hours difference. So technically we could see some news, but 2 hours worth of news, not 3 hours worth of news like California. So California in the mountain, or I guess Pacific time zone, has always had sort of that, but I don't know if again, I can't call that an advantage. It's just a difference because you can't know what everybody else in California and Washington and in Oregon are going to do or not do because of the data either. So it's like seeing the enemy's gas tank in a really long race. Like, who really cares? Like, at some point they're going to run out of gas, but they're also going to fill up so many times that it really doesn't matter. So almost extraneous data. It would be kind of neat, I guess, for the people though that aren't voting, for the people that are just watching, because then you can kind of see like a horse race, I guess, you know, the comings and goings of it. But again, doesn't really, it's not actual data. It's just a bunch of things. Like, it doesn't amount to much because there's nothing about it that's consequential to the result, right? If all Democrats voted in the morning and all Republicans voted in the evening, like, it wouldn't matter because it still matters the result, right? Like, who cares when they vote? So I guess watching it all day or watching from the states is really just effort in contributing to the popularity of it or to the giving it significance for the sake of significance, right? Like, you could all just ignore it until Wednesday and find out the results, because if no one paid attention, the result would still happen. But people really like the campaigning part of it. I mean, that's definitely a big part of our democratic republic. The fact that we're not a democracy, we're not just a bunch of dipshits who just all vote on everything and agree with whatever the majority says. We're not that. And we aren't a bunch of fascists who are just a republic either. So we're a democratic republic. And I think that people that, I can understand the people that pout and just mope, like, oh, voting is such a thing, and there's so much effort and blah, right? Like, okay, great. Except you could say the same thing about the 4th of July or Thanksgiving. Do you know Thanksgiving was the first American holiday? I just learned about that.
Yeah.
You know, other things that are done for the sake of, what's the word? Togetherness and community and camaraderie, or whatever the words are. You know, like, voting is part of that too. Like, that's why I go vote tomorrow like an American instead of like a mail order communist or whatever. You know, just because you can vote a different way doesn't mean you're an American by doing it that way. So I like going to the actual place and seeing other Americans and thanking the volunteers and scribbling on a piece of paper or whatever, yelling and screaming. I like to yell and scream when I go there.
It's a way more visceral experience when you get down to it, and that's part of the fun of the participation for me. And yeah, checking other people at the polls, and just smiling. I mean, we're all out there finally getting to to register our choice, and there's that it is a bipartisan activity. It's a vote, so the party politics fall into place. And I think what I was kind of getting around to asking you about, the representation in your region, is that in Nebraska we have 5 electoral votes. I just checked on Barbecue State. He's got 20 in Pennsylvania. Gee, you want to take a guess on how many electoral votes you get in Arizona?
How many are there altogether? 400?
No, there's Judas. How many are there? I think it's 300 to cinch it. And I think that Biden's like
4, maybe. I don't have that many.
You have 11.
Oh, okay.
Which is, I mean, to me sounds strange. I mean, Phoenix, that's a completely, different country in a lot of ways. It's a megalopolis. But Cali, 55. So when the Western time zone vote or closes, Washington with 12, Oregon makes it 19, Idaho's mountain, but Nevada is Western, isn't it, G?
No, it'll be Pacific.
Oh, okay. So it's just the coastal states, Washington, Oregon, California?
Well, I just know that when I go to Vegas, I lose an hour. So I know Vegas is perfect, but I don't know about you.
75 just on the left coast. And it's
75 that nobody even considers being Republican either, right? Like, everybody just assumes those are Democratic.
Yeah, and your neighbor to the east, New Mexico is a blue state with 5, and Colorado, just up at the other four corner, is 9, and they're a blue state. So the map's still carved out pretty much like I've noticed it being for the last however many elections, going back to 88. So, and I did just look at this at the call number. It's 270 to win, and by projections on this map, it's Trump with 2. Oh, come on, read through it. It's got a watermark on it. 286, and Biden at 252.
And that's based off of polls, though, not based off of early poll or early ballot.
Yeah, no early voting indicators, no.
But I listen to Art Bell in the middle of the night, and that means that I got to listen to fucking Rush Limbaugh during the day because of that station. It's the same station, right? So I just have that in my bathroom, and when I turn the light on, the radio goes on. So that's about how much I listen to Rush Limbaugh. Is if I go in there and pee or poop, then I got to listen to Rush Limbaugh or whatever the equivalent is during the day. And if you listen to that, when I listen to them channels for as long as it takes me to pee or poop, they'll act like all the polls say Trump's going to win. And then today I had to go across town, so I was listening to NPR for longer than I would have normally ever listened to NPR. But I like to listen to both sides of the garbage, right? So I'm listening to NPR, and according to it, there's no possible way that Biden could lose. So literally, they're both suggesting that their polls are the same. I can assume the same polls, or at least they're hand-picking polls, whatever. They're both suggesting that they're going to win. That there's basically, everybody still needs to go vote, but it's in the bag. And I'm like, wow, it's super confident. And I guess that's just the play. I guess I don't pay enough attention, I guess, to recall from any other elections if that was the way that the radio was playing it. But maybe that's just the play, just grin and you say you're going to win until you find out the actual results. Or maybe they, I guess, seriously think they've read the right data, I guess.
Well, I think it's probably going to split. Tomorrow it's going to end up splitting down like it has in previous years, where the Electoral College and the popular vote are opposed. And I think that Biden has a chance to win popular, but there are just too many red states to overcome for the Electoral College. It just, all that shit I just said about the left coast and all of California's votes, if you take New England and you wrap them all together, it's the same number. And those are all blue states. I mean, what is it? Right up against Maine is like the only holdout up there. I can't even remember right now. My geography's bad. Barbecue, help me out, man.
Vermont is easy because it looks like a V, and then New Hampshire's the other. They look at
Vermont, New Hampshire.
A little bit.
And then what's in between New Hampshire and Maine?
Vermont. Well, no, it goes Vermont and then New Hampshire and then Maine, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah, because then below New Hampshire, you'd have Massachusetts, then you got Connecticut, Rhode Island, and all that.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
But when you look at the two, because Vermont and New Hampshire are a fucking rectangle that just cut themselves in half to act like they're special or whatever. They're just a rectangle. Vermont is the one that looks like a V. So it's like a rectangle. They cut it from the lower left to the top right. And Vermont's the top one. It looks like a V. New Hampshire kind of looks like a half of an N. Like the shit, like if Vermont won in the fight and New Hampshire got broke, it's the broke part of the N.
Yeah, broke back. Right up against New York State. Woo.
They've got mountains up there.
All right, so let's see. Connecticut. How do I say Connecticut? So many new voters. The polls are hard to believe or rely on. Right, you're talking like young kids that born since Y2K. I mean, born since 9/11. You're not allowed to say Y2K. You're supposed to say 9/11, even though they're a fucking year apart. So the kids born since then that are voting for the first time, it's supposed to be a big number. I haven't seen, and I keep talking about this, I haven't seen anything even focus on that since like like 16, like a long, long time ago. Like I saw that stuff accidentally and I looked into it. I've never seen anything focus on it. So I don't know if I'm just crazy or if it's like insignificant, doesn't matter, that facet, or if they're just trying to downplay it. I really think they're trying to downplay it because they want to keep the old people on the hook. Like, hey, this is your last time. They don't want to tell the old people, hey, this is the last time we're going to be addressing you. But I think that's pretty much what we're seeing. So many more voters, young and old. Well, I guess that's possible. And we don't, and my bullshit doesn't take into account somebody who walks in here old, right? Like they're allowed to come here too, I guess. So old people can come here and, not be American, and then boom, they're American. They pass the test or whatever. They pay $5, and then now they can vote. And yeah, they're old. So not all new voters are young. I guess that's true. I'll acknowledge that some new voters are old. Here's the thing. Nobody can get this. Nobody can deny this, though. There's no such thing as a young old voter. So that isn't possible in this time structure, at least with time moving the way it moves here. Were you asking about the Electoral College, just whether or not it should exist, though?
Oh, well, my opinion on that's pretty strong. No. I think we should be a popular vote.
Then you can get California and New York running the country, telling farmers what to do, and basically running the fucking country. Like it would basically, instead of being Democrat Republican, it would be New York versus LA. And it would just constantly be like an East-West battle, and the people in the middle would literally be the trenches. The war
I
would
saw a video breakdown of this. They'd have to go to New York City, I think, Austin, Dallas area, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and it might have been Baltimore and DC area, but those 5 areas, and they could win the entire country.
Oh, wow. Yeah, but would they have the kind of turnout to do that? I mean, just because they have the potential to do it, do you think that they would actually achieve that?
But the point is, those 5 areas have enough voting power, populace-wise, if you're going off the popular vote, that nobody else in the country matters.
I'm still not used to this.
Well, we know where the populations are. They're in the cities. So if you just say everybody gets a vote, then they could put up something like, well, we think that farms should suck a butt and cities are so good. And then boom, there'd be a law that says cities are so fucking good. What is anybody going to do about it? Because people in the cities voted for it.
That's
I think that they all secretly want to live where we do, though. I don't,
Oh, no, not at all. You have met enough people, cities people. I know people that hate anything that isn't urban or like, they just think food appears out of air. They think that like pop culture is all there is. Movies like are, part of the obligation of existence to make movies for us to talk about and buy stuff from, like clothes and shit just appear. And I'm not like I know people and I'm friends with them, but from talking to people online and knowing a couple of people's kids,
okay, but like when I was in the city in 1990, and Friday night, it was a freaking ghost town. Everybody went upstate. So the only people left in the city over the weekend were people who were stuck there. Yeah. In 90, I split from university out to New York City. I had 3 interviews at 3 different record labels to work artist and representation. And I had 2 of them.
That was before cell phones were prevalent, and certainly before.
You're right. It was.
It was before texting, and it was before the online stuff. So before the, I mean, when people went to concerts, it was different than in the now times when people don't go to concerts anymore. People barely, I mean, I'm not talking this year, this decade, people don't go to concerts so much. People don't go to movies and shit. The concerts that people go to are the comeback tours from people like us that understood what a concert is and why you would want to go to a concert. If you've never been to a concert, you wouldn't understand what you're missing, right? You wouldn't understand what it's like to be in a crowd of other people and experience the same thing, especially when you're in tune to the frequency or whatever of that artist's whatever, right? Images, songs, or what. So, you know, if you've never experienced that and you've only ever listened to earphone digital versions of songs that are, you know, noise shit that comes off of a synthesizer and whatever. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? Like that's one of those things where how could they know? So that's the difference now is the cities and shit is that's all like Uber this, like, you know, go over here, get some pictures. You know, it's just a total different. I don't know. I'm not saying I know what the fuck's going on either. I'm just saying I don't think they want to get the hell out of cities. I think that they have some delusional fantasy that they can live their entire existence in cities. And maybe I'm, you know,
Well, I was staying in Queens, and in both Queens and Brooklyn, there wasn't a lot of outward flight on the weekends, but Manhattan just emptied. And I was just shocked. It's like, well, hey, can't we get together and party with so and so? Isn't so and so supposed to be having a release party this weekend? And they're like, no, everybody went to the Hamptons. I'm like, really? Like, you guys don't even make good money for New York City. How in the hell can you go upstate? And I guess people are just, after work, they're getting on the train and they're just fucking off to their weekend place in Nantucket or something. I don't know. It was a completely foreign idea to me at the time. I was ready. The woman who actually led me to the interview that I performed well in and I had a job offer for was ready to switch. She was like 2 blocks off of the Queensboro Boulevard station, and it was split between a Hasidic neighborhood and well, that was in Queens. Anyway, it was a predominantly Jewish neighborhood, but you know, the tiny little garden level closet of an apartment she had, I was ready and willing in 1990 to pay $1,000 a month for. You know, I was coming off of renting a 2-bedroom house for $400 a month, and I wouldn't have had a car. I would have taken my motorcycle probably. But that was my first experience with using public transportation definitively for everything that I did. And I loved the subway system. It was freaking awesome. It was crazy clogged with nut jobs and, you know, plenty of great photo opportunities for me. But yeah, I loved it. It was just a dirtier version of London. London was even more efficient. But the underground was so confusing comparatively. The color system that they use in New York for the different boroughs and the different trains, that was easy to figure out. But London, that was a mess.
All right. Well, you brought up a bunch of different stuff there. So I guess to some extent, there's the concept. Yeah, if you've got like a small place in the city, you might go somewhere else. But there's that element that there's what happens in the city. So you've got your shows and your restaurants and your other attractions and shops and stuff. So those people are still in business. If the people that live there during the week leave because they don't have to go to work and they can exit, what happens is people from the suburbs replace them and go down and visit, right? So they're visitors, but they're still there occupying space. So basically what I'm saying is the shops are still going to get full and the shows are still going to get seen and the food's still going to get eaten.
Yeah.
But
you're right.
But I don't know, specifics of a street or whatever. I guess mainly what we're talking about is just perception if you want to live in a city versus if you acknowledge what the rest of the country's like. And I started experiencing that as a youngin', just traveling with different youth groups and schools and stuff and experiencing kids from different parts of the country. And when you're the kid that sits somewhere and somebody else comes to you, like foreign exchange or somebody visits from another part of the country, that's an exchange and you experience, but it's different than when you're the kid that gets up and goes to someplace else and experiences being the only one who's different from everybody else, right? If you're a military kid or some other occupation where your parents move and you experience life like that, that's a different type of experience than somebody who, just like me, my experience was visiting places during the summer for a couple of months at a time, just visiting, but never staying long enough to experience, just to just see. So anyway, there's just all these different ways to experience stuff too, is what I guess I'm getting at. And what the hell, getting to where the hell was we going with the living in the cities or whatever? I guess like I say, just from my experience of meeting people, there's the people that live one place and only ever experience people coming to see them. Like they never go anywhere for whatever the circumstance, whatever reasons. They just never have the inclination or ability or whatever. They just haven't gone. And then there's people that maybe have only gone back and forth, right? So they have limited, but not 100. And then there's the people that just have, seems like tons of experience, like going to a lot of places or have visited a lot of places or have met with a lot of people who've been places, but have wider experience, right? So that's where I'm thinking you can't pin down the people who have a lot of experience, but typically when people have a lot of experience, in my experience, those people don't end up at a city. Those people end up either constantly moving, which means they're, sometimes in a city, but just as much not, or when they finally settle down, it's the opposite of a city, right? Like, because they have the opportunity to go where they want, they go, not the city. But then the people that, in my experience, who've never been anywhere and only experienced through TV and through other people coming and telling them about it, is people in cities or people in small towns, because it probably happens about the same. Thing is, when people's in a small town, they can see what a city is, and they are in a small town, so they understand both. Where the people in the city who never go anywhere, their freaking crazy concept of a country is just, it's weird. It's like, how do you understand what a country is? Like, you can understand what a city is because you can go into a small town and go, oh, it's going to be like this times a billion, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can't go into an alley and go, okay, this is what Colorado's like. You can't go into a city park and go, okay, now I understand Idaho. You're just screwed. You've never experienced. And those people, I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm just saying there's no way they know what Montana is. They don't know what it's like to drive 2-3 days across Texas. And somebody who has to drive 2 days to go see what Dallas is like and then drive 2 days home, they just got a different experience in this planet. So that's one of those things that, how do you can't force somebody to have an experience on the planet, but I definitely don't want people that haven't had an experience on the planet to tell the rest of us how to live our lives or how to deal with our resources or how to, what strategy to take going forward. So that's why I'm scared of the concept of just a democratic vote. That's the whole two wolves and a sheep deciding what's for lunch, right? But whenever I don't really get into this topic too much because I just don't get into it that often. I just don't. But and I don't avoid it. It just doesn't come up that often. But back in the day, didn't we elect senators from our state, and then our senators elected the president? So then our representatives elected a president, or am I crazy? And then we changed that to electoral college. But I don't know if that's better or worse or what, but the idea that we elect senators and then those senators elect a president, and if they screw up, then we get rid of the senators. I don't know if I like that or if I don't, but I think that's how we started, or something similar. Is that how we started?
I'm not 100% on that one.
I would have failed that question on the exam.
Yeah, I might be crazy on that too, but I would be more interested in some other strategy other than just drop the electoral college. Because the only time I ever hear the electoral college thing is whenever somebody is like, I wanted like Hillary to win, and she didn't win because the electoral college won the other guy, and whoever was saying it before, pants, like, why do they even tell us the other one? They only tell us the other one because they want to act like there's a reason to give a shit about it, like because their guy didn't win or their chick didn't win. Right. So then, of course, it's a big issue. When their chick wins, nobody brings it up. Nobody's like, they won the electoral college, but not the popular. Like, the losers are always the ones that have to bring it up. Not the losers, but the ones that don't get the popular vote. But again, that's because otherwise all we would get is laws that say cities are so fucking good.
Yeah, like when I drove truck, I would have to go into the 5 boroughs, and I absolutely hated it because I'd be coming up to the George Washington Bridge, and a few miles before that, all of a sudden everything just like turned to cement. There was nothing green. It was just cement everywhere. And I'm like, what the frick is this? How does anybody live in this? Then you get across the GW and immediately go through a tunnel, which I'm pretty sure has an apartment building built on top of it. And I'm just like, how? It's a cement jungle. And I would talk to some of the people at the places I deliver to and kind of pick their brain. And it's amazing, how many of them are like, oh yeah, I've never left the Bronx or I've never left Manhattan. And I'm like, why? And they're
Tons
like,
of people.
no need to.
Because they could
And I'm
take the
just
train
like,
to Coney.
I was like, have you ever just gone east on the island? Because a lot of people here in Long Island, they're thinking, the 5 boroughs and stuff. But the thing is, once you get outside of the 5 boroughs by about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, Long Island just turns into farmland. It's incredible. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm back in my element again. This is wonderful. But it's amazing how many people are right there and they have no idea. And like I understand what DJ was saying with the people would run up to the Hamptons, but the problem is, while they might want to have the scenic views and kick back and relax, there's a element of that they're missing where they're going for recreation. Somebody that's actually living in it like us, we understand it. Well, guess what? It's not just the pretty views and relaxing. I remember every summer throwing hay and mucking stalls, and meat isn't just something you go pick up at the grocery store. It had to be raised and slaughtered and tended to, and and that's what a lot of those city people would be missing, while they might want to branch out.
The worst part about organic cattle raising is when you open up the package and there's that gross like little pad. It's all bloody under there. Like that's the worst part about raising cattle.
Those that are struck by lightning and swell up in the field that the dead wagon expects you to drag down, that's some pretty burly stuff there. Oh my goodness, dead wagon. You could smell it coming.
A cow will just be sitting there releasing methane, just killing the ozone, minding its own business, killing the ozone out there, and then and eating grass, turning it into ozone. And then then lightning will just come down and kill it.
Yep.
Well, I guess it's good that it released all the methane, because otherwise it would have exploded. I wonder if that ever happened.
Oh, it does, believe, because if you don't go back and make sure you got all of them, you'll run across them and they will blow up so big. I mean, it's beyond a balloon, man. It stretches down, starts to peel the skin away from the muscle, and it's just bloating and boiling in the sun. And, the lightning usually, not only does it kill them instantly, but it cauterizes them. So they're not leaking anything except from their 7 stomachs as it makes the parade from their cud through their ass. So when you go up on one of those, if you don't have a skid or something like that, you're literally, pulling them behind something, and they're just falling apart on the way. It is the most disgusting thing in the world. My little brother actually fell prey to one of the farm kids. We used to stay when my mom would go to teachers conventions and stuff like that in the summers, and they dared him to poke the one in the ditch with a stick. He did. It exploded on him. It didn't leave his skin for months. We did this, all the skunk cures with, tomato juice, milk, just everything to try and get that smell off of him, and it just wouldn't. it was gross. He was in the room down the hallway from me. We hadn't been in bunk beds for years, and Mom and I stayed downstairs.
Yeah, that's a stench you don't get off you for a while.
No, you can't wash that off. It's like being behind a load of pigs going to market in the rain, and that slick nasty just starts flying up and plastering itself across your car, and yeah, it's burly, not fun.
All right. Well, we went in a different direction there for a minute.
Sorry about that. Went from the agricultural stretch of Long Island to Midwest beef bloating.
Let's see. So Clint is saying he brought up before that it was the 17th Amendment that changed it where the people vote for their senator instead of their state representative. So I was conflating it. I got it mixed up before. So, but he's saying you'd be for removing that and going back to the state representatives, send senators to Washington, the majority of state legislatures. So that would be nice, and it would remove the direct influence on lobbyists. And that's, I don't care about the Republican side because I'd like to see more diversity of what's the word, nuance in positions. But I don't think there needs to be two positions on everything. I think there can be three positions on stuff, and then have actual parties or people that petition different emphasis on these different points of view. And I think that would lead us to get rid of government's influence on so many things. Because right now it's a win. We talk about this game that they have set up. It's engineered. Do you agree with him or me? Well, I don't agree with you even having a say in this. So third option, that is neither, and that they don't give you that option. So I think by having some nuance, you have the opportunity for those third options to start showing up. And once you got a third option that shows up and it says, I don't think government should have their say in this, then we know right away if that's something that other people agree with or not. Because if enough people finally can say, hey, shut up already, the government should be in charge of this, and quit with this whole like skepticism, the government, everyone agrees the government should have their hands in this, then I'll shut up and be like, okay, now we know, like there's an option that says the government shouldn't be involved and no one wants that option. Instead, everyone wants the government involved. Then we know we truly have something that the government can do, right? That people want the government to do. But that's my problem, is that so many things, they just come out of nowhere and say, hey, here's a new thing, new whole nother obligation or responsibility or something of government, something that we can create a bureaucracy around. Let's say buying property, or let's say, licensing something or whatever. And then they just assume everyone's going to agree that the government should have any say in it. They're just going to give us options like, should we have this much say or that much say? Now I got hiccups. So I guess I'm for that whole idea of, not so much from the Republican side, but from the idea that it would remove lobbyists, because the lobbyists wouldn't be able to influence our senators, because our senators would be beholden to our state reps, who are beholden to us. And there'd be so many state reps that it just wouldn't be possible. Like at this point, you could go up to every senator and give them $5, and it would only cost you $250 to do that, right? Like you had $250, you could own the Senate of the United States, at least $5 worth of their opinions, right? So, if there was, now you had to pay off every state senator, so that to the point where they told their senators to do your bidding. That's incomprehensible. It's impossible for anyone to have that kind of, you'd have to be the size of a Google or a Facebook to have that kind of money or influence. So that'll never happen. So I could see that, but man, it's tough enough trying to get across this whole thing that we just talked about with the Electoral College. How many times will the Electoral College come up in the next, 4 days on the internet? Like dozens of times people are going to talk about that shit, right?
It'd be one of the few things left to talk about.
But it'll certainly be talked about until the results come in, because they'll have to have something to talk about, right? Oh, no, We don't.
Yes,
we
they
don't.
have to feed the beast. We're on that 24-hour news cycle. It doesn't matter how we go coast to coast. It matters how it bounces off the satellites. So, and the rest of the world's watching. So, oh, hey, what was the name of that cat that came down and met you and Biker Bob for Big Sandy? Was he from Finland? He was on the show for the first time in a while, a couple of shows ago.
Uh-huh.
He was from somewhere in Scandinavia.
Finland. Mika. Mika.
Mika. There we go. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, to find out, because I think he was saying he was getting ready to get up or something like that when we were closing out. I can't remember exactly, but it'd be interesting to see what kind of reportage they're having.
I think he said that's like 9 p.m. there.
Okay.
No, that can't be. It'd have to be 9
It doesn't.
a.m. there.
Yeah, I think he said he was 7 hours behind New York. So
It would be earlier than New York by however big the ocean is. I don't know how many time zones that is, but yeah, something like that. 7 time zones maybe. Actually, be all the oceans and England. I don't know how many time zones that is, because Finland's on the other side of some water from England and shit. Let's see. The majority of the state legislation. Okay, so then he says the Electoral College, one of the most brilliant things about our government. I don't know. I mean, I think that we definitely have something that has been working for, a while. Like, it's been working through all different kinds of situations. Like, it's worked through world wars, and it's worked through. I mean, I don't know how many parties we've had at one time before, but these two that we have now are just the two most recent ones. We started out with none, and then we had different ones. So yeah, the system is definitely like, what's the word? Not more than reliable, but resilient or whatever, like adaptable, I guess is the word I'm looking for. All right, well, so everybody winding down. We're 2 hours in. It's a couple people watching, but it's really just me and Clint at this point talking to each other. So it's been a couple minutes since he chatted. These two are winding down.
It has been a bit of a long one.
All right, well, so let's see. We will. Oh, I guess there's something going on tomorrow. I'm gonna be getting some cool stuff in the mail. I think if everything goes according to plan, I'm getting the little drum thingy that goes in and gets rid of that blue line, or the absence of blue line that happens when I print. So I'm looking forward to seeing if this thing's going to change it or not. It's like a $250 printer, and there's 4 of these drums. So it's basically 4 laser printers, one in blue, one in yellow, one in red, and one in black. And then there's 4 toners, and a piece of paper goes through and it gets washed in. It goes through like a black laser printer, then it goes through a red laser printer, then it goes through, the piece of paper goes back and forth through these 4 laser printers basically. And whenever I heard that explained to me, I was like, yeah, that sounds exactly like what I want, because my black laser printer lasted forever. So this would work forever. And it literally does. The cartridges last for like hundreds of pages and stuff. But somewhere along the line, there's a toner. So there's like the powder for each color. And then there's the printer, right, for each color. So what happened is I got a line burned into, I guess I'm thinking the blue. Let's say the blue laser printer has like a line burned into it. I don't know how, probably from using it too much, because I don't think I ever jammed a piece of paper through there. So something happened to where I can't clean it, or there's a couple of things I've tried to adjust and shit, and it won't go away. So the drums, I guess they're called, are like $80 a pop, $70, $80 if you buy them. I found one on eBay for 30 something. It's like 38 shipped, and it's The box is opened, but it's inside of like a foil bag inside
Yeah.
of the box, and that's still sealed because it's a light sensitive thing. So you wouldn't want one that's open to the light ever, or you wouldn't
Yep.
want to pay for one like that. So anyway, I got one for like half price, and it should be here tomorrow. And I'm gonna plug that thing in, and hopefully that gets rid of the blue line, and then that'll also tell me that this printer is the shit because anytime it breaks, I can buy an old used part to keep it going, which is better than the other printers I've had, which, are as soon as they die, you either pay way more than you paid to buy the printer to fix it or buy a new printer. In this case, I can keep a $200 thing going with $30 parts. So I like that concept because I'm not complaining. That thing has printed a lot since I've gotten it. So anyway, I'm stoked. So I'm looking forward to getting that tomorrow. I've got a couple other things coming. So those of you with patch addictions, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. It's how I make a living. So
Yeah.
gonna be,
We'll be there.
we're gonna be stoking that a little bit. But then yeah, got some other stuff happening as well. So I've been, I got screwed up last week with being sick and then just recovering from that. So I kind of lost my momentum there, but I'm coming back. And then of course we had Halloween, which is a weird holiday for everybody. It's not quite a national holiday, but it might as well be, right? It's not like a bank holiday, but it might as well be because everybody kind of takes a break. So as we come out of that, and then of course this whole thing tomorrow, if you don't know, something's happening tomorrow. I'm getting a bunch of stuff in the mail. After that, though, hopefully the world will get back to normal pretty quick, and we'll all be able to start figuring out, our bearings, I guess, going forward after that. We'll have a show here. I'm sure it'll be the one that everybody's going to want to watch because it'll be the anti-manipulation one. It won't be the one that's going to be chatting about the bullshit. Instead, it'll be chatting about my drum cartridge from my printer. Let's see. What a Napa starter. What are we talking about? Oh, changing a starter. And then thanks for the $5 right there. We'll be using that to buy food. Let's see. Going to be driving through Seattle every night this week on my way home from work. Well, we talked about that earlier. You should get in a boat and just ferry around. You get in a boat, not only do you not have to drive, you can take a nap, you can read a book or something, go fishing. Do they let you fish off of that thing? That would be awesome. You could get out of work, drive over to a ferry, jump on the back of a ferry, and then all the way home fish. And then you got a bunch of fish by the time you get to wherever you're going, jump off the back of that ferry, and then drive the rest of the way home and eat some fish.
Oh yeah, drop a line right outside the kelp beds and pick up some of those the groupers and stuff. That'd be freaking rad.
Do they let you fish off of them things?
I never saw anybody do it. I'm sure there's some kind of regulations, but
Awesome to do.
Yeah.
Tesla boat. Tesla makes a boat?
Oh, electricity in the water? Not me.
Oh, hell yeah. I had radioactive stuff or radio controlled stuff when I was a kid. Gary had the radioactive stuff. So I had the radio controlled stuff and I had cars for a while, but then I got into boats. And for the longest time, I was like all mopey, I'm super mopey. So I was all mopey that I didn't have like a motor in my boat because I really wanted the loud ass motor, gas motor, little tiny gas motor in my boat.
Yeah.
But an electric boat turns out, oh man, they're way better than a gas powered boat. So yeah, I could totally see an electric boat, but I don't know. I guess in a remote control boat, it works out pretty good. I guess it kind of depends on how heavy those batteries are. But if he could figure out some way to use the salt water itself as the thing that creates the electricity, that would be super. Just a bunch of capacitors that upgrade it or something, or amp it up, or step it up or something. But yeah, I haven't heard of a Tesla boat, but I'd be curious. If it's stainless steel and it's full of batteries, maybe not so much, but we'll see.
Better than diesel.
Oh, he's changing a starter for work, it sounds like. Ugh. All right, well, I'm yawning again. So, again, thanks everybody for sticking around. We chatted for a couple of hours. We'll be back, even though all the hype's tomorrow, chatting about real gun news, real gun stuff, I guess. You guys want to plug anything before we head out?
Just get out and vote.
Yeah. Get out and do your civic duty and be safe out there.
Yeah, 6 hours from now. It opens for me in 6 hours. Probably less than that on the East Coast. All right, we'll be back to pick up later.
Sounds great.